Welcome back, everyone. This is the final interview of The Great Smoke 2023. This segment of The Great Smoke is being brought to you by Yellowstone Bourbon. For our final interview today, we have Amanda Micallef. Round of applause, please, for Amanda.
Thank you, guys. Excited to be here.
So, Micallef Cigars is 6 years in business. Is that about right?
Yes.
And you have been involved for 3 of the last 6.
Correct. I joined the company in late 2019.
My first question. Your father has been described as a serial entrepreneur. Presumably, you grew up with a dad who had these incredible businesses. I mean, I was just looking, silicone rubber, oil and gas, auto parts, aircraft leasing, restaurants, ranches. What did 12-year-old Amanda Micallef want to be when she grew up?
Oh, this is going to be embarrassing. I wanted to be a killer whale trainer when I was 12.
Killer whale trainer.
Yes.
It's a serious answer.
That is a serious answer that I can't believe I just said publicly, but yes.
And was it something that you were interested in actually pursued, or was it like, I mean, I wanted to be an archaeologist just because I saw Indiana Jones?
No, I went to SeaWorld. I thought it was cool. I wanted to swim with killer whales. And
Yes.
that seemed like a really great way to get that done.
I love it.
Later in life, I figured out that maybe I would just enjoy watching
Killer whales.
and perhaps pursue something a little more business-minded.
And so as you grew up, you got into high school, college. How did your interests sort of inspire what you ultimately wanted to be?
So in high school, I actually started spending a lot of time with our drama club, which led me to film. And so I spent 20 years working in Los Angeles in the film business as a movie producer and commercials, music videos, things like that. When social media started to kind of rise up, I became very interested in short form content, which led me into storytelling and marketing from that aspect. And ultimately, that's what I kind of came back to the family businesses to do.
So you rejoined family business with a focus still in the arts that you were sort of pursuing.
Yeah, very much. My last 5 years in Los Angeles were very focused on short form content, experiential events much like this, and community building. And so that's what I've really focused on at Micallef Cigars.
So I think the obvious question is, with so many options within your suite of family businesses, with your experience and success in film in Los Angeles, why on earth would you pick premium cigars to go all in on?
So, I split my time. I spend about half my time with the cigar business, and I do spend half my time with our silicone manufacturing business, which is one of our core businesses. And so the why cigars, you know, it's funny. That's the question I asked my dad when he started the company, is why cigars? And I wasn't a cigar smoker at all. He was. And he really started telling me about meeting the Gomez Sanchez family that blend our cigars, and how he felt like they made fantastic cigars, but there was some operational things that he could do to really help them. He knew that he could take our family's manufacturing experience, having manufactured all over the world, and be able to apply that to making great cigars in Nicaragua. And felt like the brothers and their mother, Migdalia Sanchez, had a gift for blending cigars, but that they would never reach more people unless somebody came in and put that sort of rocket fuel behind them. And he felt like the Micallef family could do that. And I loved that idea. And I felt like my experience with storytelling and social media and experiential events and community building could help amplify that message. And so why not cigars?
And you now enjoy cigars.
I do, very much.
And the culture and the people, the whole thing. I mean, it's
all of it, from top to bottom. It's an incredible community, and it's pretty fun to work in something that is made the same way that it was, 100, 200 years ago. There aren't any real handmade products for the most part, like what we get to enjoy every day.
Certainly not ones where each individual one is crafted by hand for one person to enjoy. That's a staggering
It really
craft.
is. It the more I learn about the cigars, the more astounded I become about what we do. And quite frankly, the price point we are able to deliver it to people for.
I think what's wonderful about this group is so many of the folks in this room and watching at home have had the opportunity to visit cigar factories, see the process, and I think everyone leaves with this sense of, oh, I mean, how is it possible you can have a handmade premium cigar this good, this consistent for $10?
I agree. It's kind of mind-boggling.
Your work storytelling, what I appreciate so much about watching your story as a company is the way you approach this balance of being innovative. And I think all brands face this challenge. If you're a new company, you have to balance innovation, perhaps even disruption, but without being disrespectful. And there are some people who come in full throttle, perhaps without that mentality. But you guys didn't do that. You have really come in with a very clear reverence for industry, whether it's the manufacturing side, the retail side, and certainly the consumer side. But I'm curious, what was the sort of guiding light for you to preserve that level of reverence and respect for industry while you were still trying to grow and find your lane?
It's a fantastic question, because I think part of what is exciting and gets me out of bed in the morning is having an opportunity to be disruptive. But I think to be disruptive effectively, it's incredibly important to pay credence to the people who came before you. And the cigar industry and the legacy around the cigar industry is astounding. And the families that have passed down the techniques they use to make cigars, and the farmers that still grow tobacco in the same way their families did, generations before, is too important to dismiss. And so, I think the guiding light is that we have a real desire to make sure more people in the world are aware of what goes into making premium cigars, so they help us protect that heritage for generations to come. It's too important to not carry that message forward for another, generation and a generation beyond that.
For me, there are two things that stand out as that balance on the innovative, different thinking, disruptive side of your business. The first is Micallef made a very deliberate and very strategic decision shortly after being in market as to how they would go to market, how you would go to market. And that was very specifically leaning into brick and mortar stores and not going through what perhaps would be an easier road of growth, which are the major catalog, major online retail outlets. But it's no secret that those channels probably represent 40, 50% of the total industry volume. But Micallef is still firmly committed in this idea of supporting brick and mortar partners and letting them be the conduit to consumer as far as your product itself. Talk a bit about that decision. Was it a difficult decision? Was it easy? And how has it turned out?
It was one of the easiest decisions that we've made as a company. For us, it was painstakingly clear what we needed to do to ensure Micallef Cigars' long-term success. One of the benefits of being part of a family of businesses is I don't need to build a cigar company for today or 5 years from now. We get to build the cigar company for 25 years from now. And we get to make decisions with that in mind. And so when you look at the long tail of what's going to be happening in the cigar industry, it was really clear to us that if we don't support brick and mortar partners today, there will be no cigar industry tomorrow. And with that in mind, it was incredibly clear the only option was to make sure that we put our resources and our marketing dollars behind the brick and mortar partners to secure everyone's future.
And your team is a pretty extraordinary team. I mean, I've worked with a few of your salespeople. I've gotten to meet other folks. These guys and gals really live the company like it's theirs. It's rare that you see employees with the passion of ownership. Is that something that you instill in them, or is that something that they just adopt?
So I think it really actually starts with the Micallef Cigar Ambassador Group, who, there's almost 10,000 members, 5,000 are active on Facebook, and we consider them our board of directors. And so when your company starts with the idea that your ambassador group from the consumers are your board of directors, then it just sort of rolls up, right? So of course, for the salespeople, they feel the same sort of ownership and empowerment that they would have since they represent the brand to the consumers and so forth.
How do you balance, you opened up right into my next point, which is this idea of community. And we all in this industry, I think, believe that we have our own community, our loyal fan base, but no one has done it the way Micallef has done it with this army of ambassadors, 10,000 strong. But what I think is so interesting and unique about the way you have created this sort of army of advocates is that they're, of course, preaching the gospel of Micallef all the time, and yet on your platform, you are so welcoming to the rest of industry. I mean, I feel so fortunate. I've been part of the shows. I've done interviews within this Micallef ambassador community. It seems to me that you're also sort of balancing not just an advocacy and amplification of Micallef, but part of the Micallef brand is industry. Is that kind of on brand?
It is. I love how you said that. It is a big part of who we are. Again, it goes back to we really believe a strong cigar industry will ultimately make a strong Micallef cigars. And so we use that as our razor when we make decisions. So, of course, bringing other brands onto our platform to talk to our consumers is a easy decision because it just helps, prop up the whole industry. And that's really where we're coming from.
Where does Amanda go? Do you see cigars as really one of those industries that once you're in, you can't get out? Are there other goals that you have personally that now you want to take your film and media and now what you've learned in this cigar industry and then apply it somewhere else? What's your next goal personally?
Cigars are going to be a part of our family of businesses and a part of my life forever. I think it's just how do we continue to grow the cigar industry? And what's fun about cigars is it pairs so well with so many other things. So as I think to the future of Micallef, it's about cigars, but it's also about what partnerships can we make with other cigar brands, but also with other craft, liquor or wine or fly fishing. There's so many different avenues and synergies that you can take a company that I think you can really grow beyond just being about cigars while still paying huge homage to the cigar industry.
This community here at Smoke Inn, the socialites, everyone who's here is really a very impressive community. How can this community help the Micallef Ambassadors community?
One of the things we're most proud of is we share a lot of ambassadors with the socialites. So there's tons of synergy already happening, which I love. But what I ask of any group of people when I'm talking about cigars is to support your local brick and mortar. We understand not everybody is close to a shop, and sometimes you have to shop online. And when you do, we get it. Try to find a brick and mortar an online shop that also has a brick and mortar. That will make for a stronger cigar industry. And ultimately, that's the best thing you can do to help the Micallef Cigar Ambassadors, the socialites, and any of your favorite cigar brands.
And clearly, this is a long-term play for your family.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, Amanda Micallef from Micallef Cigars. A round of applause, please, for our final interview of The Great Smoke 2023. We wish you nothing but continued success, you and your family. Thanks for joining us.